Have you ever felt like everything in your life was going wrong? Like you were forgotten, lost, and completely alone? This is the story of a young man who experienced all of that and more. A story about a colorful coat, a dark pit, and a dream that refused to die. This is the story of Joseph. In the rolling hills of Canaan lived a young man named Joseph. He was the favorite of his father, Jacob, who gave him a magnificent coat of many colors. This coat was a symbol of love, but to his 11 older brothers, it was a symbol of jealousy. Joseph also had dreams, vivid dreams from God, where his brothers and even his parents bowed down to him. When he shared these dreams, their jealousy turned into a burning rage. They saw his dreams not as a message from God, but as a sign of his arrogance. One day, while Joseph was checking on his brothers in the fields, they saw their chance. "Here comes the dreamer!" They ripped the beautiful coat from his back and threw him into a dry, empty well. Imagine the fear, the confusion, the betrayal Joseph must have felt, hearing his own brothers debating his fate above him. Instead of leaving him there, they decided to sell him to a group of passing traders heading to the faraway land of Egypt. As he was led away in chains, his heart broke. He was just 17, a slave, his family and his home vanishing over the horizon. His brothers returned to their father with the tattered, blood-stained coat, telling him a wild animal had taken his beloved son. Jacob's grief was immeasurable. In Egypt, Joseph's life was a roller coaster of highs and lows. He was sold to Potiphar, a high-ranking official. Despite his circumstances, Joseph worked hard and with integrity, and God was with him. Soon, Potiphar put him in charge of his entire household. Things were looking up, but trouble found him again. Potiphar's wife tried to tempt him, and when he refused, she falsely accused him. Joseph, the honest and faithful servant, was thrown into prison. Back in the darkness, it seemed like his dreams were nothing but a cruel joke. He was forgotten again. But even in the darkest prison, a light of hope flickered. Joseph's character shone through. He was put in charge of the other prisoners, and he continued to trust in God's plan even when it made no sense. Two of the Pharaoh's former servants, the cupbearer and the baker, were thrown into the same prison. Both had troubling dreams, and with God's help, Joseph interpreted them. To the cupbearer, he predicted freedom and a return to his position. To the baker, a grim fate. Everything happened just as Joseph said. He only asked the cupbearer one thing: "Remember me when you are restored." But once freed, the cupbearer forgot all about the young Hebrew man in the dungeon. 2 more years passed, 2 more years of waiting in the dark. Then, Pharaoh himself had 2 disturbing dreams that no one in his kingdom could interpret. He dreamed of 7 fat cows being devoured by 7 thin cows, and 7 healthy heads of grain swallowed by 7 withered ones. It was then that the cupbearer finally remembered. There is a Hebrew man in prison who can interpret dreams. Joseph was quickly cleaned up and brought before the most powerful man in the world. With humility, Joseph told Pharaoh, "I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." He explained that the dreams were a warning from God. 7 years of great abundance would be followed by 7 years of devastating famine that would ravage the land. Joseph didn't just interpret the dreams. He offered a solution. He advised Pharaoh to appoint a wise man to collect and store grain during the good years to prepare for the bad. Pharaoh was so impressed by Joseph's wisdom that he said, "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" He appointed Joseph, the former slave and prisoner, to be the second most powerful man in all of Egypt. Joseph was now in charge of saving the entire nation. He was 30 years old. For 7 years, he collected enormous amounts of grain, and just as predicted, the famine came. But Egypt was ready. The famine was severe, not just in Egypt but across the entire region, including Joseph's homeland of Canaan. Back home, Jacob and his family were running out of food. Hearing there was grain in Egypt, he sent his 10 older sons to buy some. He kept his youngest, Benjamin, at home, afraid of losing another son. When the brothers arrived in Egypt, they were brought before the powerful governor they had come to see. They bowed low before him, their faces to the ground. They had no idea they were bowing to the very brother they had sold into slavery 20 years earlier. Joseph recognized them immediately, but he kept his identity a secret. His childhood dream was coming true right before his eyes. Joseph decided to test them. He spoke harshly, accusing them of being spies. To prove their story, he demanded they bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, to him. He kept one brother, Simeon, as a hostage and sent the others home with grain. Their journey home was filled with fear and guilt. Their past sin was coming back to haunt them. When they told their father, Jacob was devastated at the thought of losing another son. But with the famine worsening, he had no choice. The brothers returned to Egypt with Benjamin, their hearts heavy with dread. When Joseph saw his younger brother Benjamin, the only other son of his mother, Rachel, he was overcome with emotion. He hosted a feast for them, treating them with kindness, which only confused them more. He then planned one final test. As they were preparing to leave, he had his personal silver cup hidden in Benjamin's sack of grain. Shortly after they left the city, his guards caught up with them and discovered the cup. The brothers were horrified. They were brought back to Joseph, who declared that Benjamin must stay as his slave. This was the moment of truth. Would they abandon Benjamin as they had abandoned Joseph all those years ago? But something had changed in them. Judah, the brother who had originally suggested selling Joseph, stepped forward. He pleaded with Joseph, offering to take Benjamin's place as a slave. He described the unbearable grief it would cause their father, Jacob, to lose another beloved son. He was willing to sacrifice his own freedom to save his brother and spare his father. Seeing their genuine remorse and changed hearts, Joseph could no longer contain himself. He sent everyone out of the room except his brothers. And then, weeping loudly, he revealed his identity. "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" His brothers were speechless, frozen with terror. The man they had betrayed was now standing before them with the power of life and death. But instead of vengeance, Joseph offered grace. He told them, "Do not be distressed, and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you." He explained that their evil act was part of a greater, divine plan. "You intended to harm me," he said, "but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph had forgiven them completely. He embraced them, and they all wept together. A family finally Joseph sent his brothers back with wagons full of food and gifts, telling them to bring their father and all their families to live in Egypt, in the best part of the land Goshen, where he could provide for them. When Jacob heard that Joseph was alive and was the ruler of Egypt, he could hardly believe it. But seeing the wagons from Pharaoh, his spirit revived. The family made the long journey to Egypt, and the reunion between the old father and his long-lost son was one of pure joy and tears. Jacob's family, the future nation of Israel, was saved from the famine because of the son they thought they had lost forever. So, what can we learn from Joseph's incredible journey? His story is a powerful reminder that even in our darkest moments, when we feel betrayed, forgotten, or hopeless, there can be a greater purpose at work. It teaches us about the power of forgiveness, not just for others, but for ourselves. It shows that what people may intend for harm, God can use for good. Joseph's life is a testament to faith, resilience, and the beautiful truth of redemption. No matter what pit you find yourself in, remember that your story isn't over. There is always hope. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories of faith and hope. We'll see you next time.